Welcome to the Rose City, Portland, Oregon. The Willamette River flows through one of America's most scenic cities. The LMU Lions have made their way north, fresh off an upset of BYU. It certainly got the attention of the Portland Pilots, a team that's won 3 of its last 5. It's LMU in Portland in the WCC Game of the Week. Great to have you with us, everyone. With Francis Williams, I'm Tom Glasgow. Welcome to the Chiles Center. This is the WCC This Week, and this week got underway with quite an upset, maybe the biggest in the conference so far this season, with LMU knocking off BYU, and that did a lot of damage to the Cougars' NCAA tournament hopes.
Yeah, well, you want to give LMU credit for getting the job done Thursday night, but quite frankly, I think BYU got caught looking ahead. So with that being said, their game with Gonzaga today becomes paramount, because I feel like if they don't win that game today, unless they win the WCC tournament, their NCAA tournament hopes are dashed.
Yeah, as you take a look at the standings in the West Coast Conference, no surprise, you got the big dogs right at the top. And, of course, St. Mary's went into Spokane to get that big win not that long ago. That's the only blemish on the Zags record, and BYU checking in at 7-4. But, Francis, when you look at that, what a scramble it's going to be for seeding heading into the tournament down in Las Vegas.
Well, it is. I mean, like what you use Portland and LMU, who we have here today, as an example. Teams just trying to get some momentum, just trying to find their footing, just trying to figure out what it takes to win in this league and what you have to do to be successful. So LMU coming off a big win, Portland coming off the win against Pepperdine. So again, it's just trying to see how this is all going to shake out. Teams at the bottom can still work their way up into the middle. Not necessarily to the top, but they can work way in for some good seeding.
Here's something else that needs to shake out, and that's the MVP race in the conference. I know you have some favorites. I think you have to start with the best team in the conference, and then you go to their best player, Jock Landale. And what a terrific season that he has had. He seems like the guy to beat in this MVP race.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that he will be the MVP. He's done a great job, and not only are those the best numbers in the conference as far as scoring and rebounding, he's the 11th leading scorer in the country and the 13th leading rebounder in the country. But you see, he keeps the ball high, 6'11". He plays to his 6'11" size, great footwork, good timing, adequate job of protecting the rim. So I think he'll be the MVP. But with the other guys that we have here in our graphic, I love Elijah Bryant's his toughness and the things that he brings to the table to help BYU be successful. And with Jonathan Williams of Gonzaga, his numbers may not reflect it, but there's a lot of intangibles that he brings. Again, toughness and a tenacity, and every single time he sets foot on the court, you know what you're going to get from him, and he gives it to you every single night for the Zags.
Well, they're all special talents, and we look forward to seeing what they can deliver the rest of the way in this conference season. We want to send it to our studio. Very important week. Some terrific people honored. The WCC Hall of Honor with some new members. And with more on that, we say hello to Angie Menting.
Guys, thanks. Each year, the West Coast Conference celebrates former student athletes and coaches by inducting them into the Hall of Honor during the WCC Basketball Championship. And earlier this week, the conference unveiled the 2018 class featuring one individual from every school. Sammy O'Brien with more on the class and their accomplishments.
The 10th annual Hall of Honor class features some of the most decorated student athletes in West Coast Conference history. Perhaps the most dominant pitcher WCC hitters have ever faced is Pepperdine's Randy Wolf. A 3-time first-team all-conference selection and WCC Pitcher of the Year, Wolf went on to pitch for 16 seasons in the majors. There might not be a more likable Zag than Roni Turioff. In his 4 years in Spokane, the Bulldogs won over 100 games. Turioff was named WCC Player of the Year in 2005 and was a first-team all-conference pick 3 times. He played in the NBA for 10 years, winning a championship with LeBron James in Miami. A true pioneer in WCC sports, Suzanne Enos is the first female to receive an athletic scholarship at the University of San Francisco. She helped launch the women's basketball and volleyball programs on the Hilltop and went on to a long career in education, serving the community in which she grew up. If you look at the record books at the University of Portland, you'll see Nicole Carr all over them. She led the Pilots to 4 straight WCC cross-country titles, winning the individual title in her senior season. She competed in the NCAA championships in cross-country and track, and still holds 2 track records at UP. Here are all 10 Hall of Honor inductees. BYU's Miles Batty broke the NCAA record for running the mile. Brian Quinn was a standout athlete at LMU before leading the athletics department to unprecedented success as an athletic director. Pacific's Ken Earl was a 3-time all-conference golfer and twice named the league's MVP. Mandy Bible still holds a handful of volleyball records at St. Mary's, including the all-time assist record. Chris Enger was a 3-time All-WCC basketball player and 4-time WCC Scholar athlete. She led the NCAA in block shots in 1993. And one of the winningest coaches in WCC men's soccer, Santa Clara's Cam Rast, has led his alma mater to 5 WCC titles and 7 NCAA tournaments.
Sammy, thanks. The Hall of Honor class will be formally inducted during a ceremony at the Orleans Hotel in Las Vegas on the morning of March 3rd. The event starts at 9 a.m. and will be streamed on the W.TV. Now, the first time LMU and Portland met this year, Chiles Center Philip Hartwich had 6 blocks. So far this season, the man in the middle from Germany has stepped up his role when it comes to defense and rebound. I'm going to take a look at the numbers and find out the catalyst for the change. The Lions also feature a big man in the middle, Matthias Markusson, a native of Sweden, stands 7'3" and weighs nearly 248 pounds. In the first game with the Pilots, he had a double-double with 13 points and 11 rebounds. Hartwich against Markusson, a big matchup in the middle, literally. Still ahead on WCC This Week, presented by Geico. From his time as a Blazer to his time with the Pilots, Terry Porter knows all about the Rose City Show. Who better to give us a tour of Portland, including a stop at a favorite place to get something to eat. Welcome back to WCC This Week, presented by Geico. We are counting down to Loyola Marymount and Portland at the top of the hour from the Rose City. You know, today marks the Welcome back to WCC This Week, presented by Geico. We are counting down to Loyola Marymount and Portland at the top of the hour from the Rose City. You know, today marks the 100th all-time meeting between the Lions and Pilots. You're looking at some old video of these two rivals playing in the Rose City back in the day. Love the short shorts. Portland leads the series 30-17 when playing at home, but the Lions lead the overall rivalry by 1 game. These teams first met back in 1954 with Loyola Marymount winning 89-57. Portland won the first game this year, but LMU won in their last trip to the Chiles Center.
You got one shot to give it all you got. Don't stop till you reach the top. Work hard, no punching clock. Time to claim your spot.
Oh, and the rejection at the rim.
Hartwich.
Big slam inside. Hartwich.
Stop and look, you got time to watch.
It's fun to watch, isn't he? Pilots senior Philip Hartwich is finishing in style. The big man in the middle has improved both his scoring and rebounding numbers from last year. Hartwich also leads the WCC in blocked shots. Coach Terry Porter explains the biggest change for his center this season and his importance to the team.
Him being a senior now, and
how he's really anchored our defense. You look at games that we have won, the importance of his ability to block shots, rim protection is so important for us, and then his ability to rebound has been something that he has done a tremendous job in both of those areas. And then this year, more so than any other year, he's gained a lot more confidence offensively. I think that's another area where we've encouraged him to be more aggressive when he's had opportunities down there, and we look forward for him to continue to grow in that area. But his two areas where he really impacted our games are the ability to be a great rim protector, be the anchor for our defense, and then his ability to defend, get rebounds. And so we expect him to continue to play in those areas, play well in those areas, and then continue to make the best of his offensive opportunities that he gets.
And Hartwich had 8 points and 8 rebounds in the first meeting with LMU. Right now, we're going to scroll through some WCC highlights from Thursday night. We begin in Spokane, where the Zags hosted the Toreros. And Isaiah Pinheiro had 13 points for San Diego, including this three-pointer that cut the Bulldogs' lead to 1 in the second half. But Zach Norvell had 2 big threes of his own down the stretch to keep Gonzaga in front. He would finish with 13 points, and the Zags would pull away late to win a hard-fought game. They deserve this one, 69-59. St. Mary's, meantime, looking to stay perfect in league play, hosting San Francisco. And it was another big night for Jack Landell. First, he scores in the post and draws the foul to give the Gales a 17-point lead. And then look at Landell with the nifty move here. Spends a little quality time with the rim, and Landell helps St. Mary's make it 17 straight wins, a school record. A tight one between Portland and Pepperdine. Waves trail by 3 late. Colby Ross hits the long shot that ties the game, and that sends it to overtime. In the extra frame, Marcus Shaver Jr. with the three-pointer from the corner, and the Pilots are on top. Shaver then with a fancy move here, going by you. He finishes off the glass, and Portland wins 85-76. DeMarcus Tyson, by the way, with 16 points for the Pilots. BYU in LA facing LMU. And a huge night for freshman Eli Scott. He gets the Lions off to a good start with this dunk. And go ahead now, the foul on top of that. LMU up 7. Elijah Bryant with 24 points. He gets the hoop and the harm in the second half to help the BYU cause. But James Bateman with 28 points for the Lions, who led the entire second half, and they win it 76-69. All right, Santa Clara facing Pacific, and Henry Caruso with the three-pointer to help the Broncos get in there. It eventually does. But a big night for Miles Reynolds. Hits the jumper and leads Pacific with 23 points. Roberto Gallinat then would finish it off for the Tigers in style. Well, he didn't quite stick the landing, but he got the dunk, and they win 63-45. All right, here's a look at the WCC standings after the action on Thursday night. St. Mary's remains on top at 11-0. Gonzaga is 1 game back. Pacific, well, they continue to impress. They are now tied with San Diego in 4th place at 6-5. All right, coming up, we take a tour of the Rose City with Pilots coach Terry Porter. Find out what parts of the community still have a special bond with the former NBA point guard. We are counting down to the Pilots and the Lions on the WCC Game of the Week. It's coming up. It's presented by Geico right after the break. Freshman JoJo Walker has started all 24 games for Portland this season. He's averaging nearly 10 points a game. 9 times this season, Walker has scored in double figures, including 12 points in the first meeting against LMU. Welcome back to WCC This Week, presented by Geico. I'm Angie Mentink. Now, Terry Porter is now in his second season leading the Portland program. He first arrived in town back in 1985 as a rookie for the Trailblazers. So he's got a long history in Portland, working on the court and in the community. Now, recently, Coach Porter took Sammy O'Brien on a tour of the Rose City to learn more about the town and revisit some of his old haunts.
Terry, I've never been to Portland before. This is a first for me, so I figured the best way to see this city was through you. So let's get going and do this. We'll start here first at the Boys and Girls Club, where you've spent a lot of time since you've been here. Why do you come here so often?
Well, the Boys and Girls Club goes all the way back to my childhood. It is a place where, for me, growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was a place I went to and took my first jumpers. This is kind of my home away from home. I love coming here and meeting the kids and seeing the kids and talking to them about life and letting them know that someone walked the same path they walked and had a very successful life. This is obviously the gym. It takes me back just because I remember on Saturday mornings, I used to be able to get to the Boys and Girls Club and take jumpers inside. I just think back to my own personal experience and how it can, get a kid thinking about playing basketball and, just an opportunity of what it presents, which was pretty cool.
So now we're here at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, stop 2 on the tour with Terry Porter. Terry, I know the Moda Center is right across the street where the Trailblazers play now, but this is where you played. Tell me about some of the experiences you had here.
Many great nights here. Was blessed to be a part of some great games here, playoff games, 2 NBA finals. That time was just an amazing stretch because each series we got better and we got better and we kept saying, oh my God, we made it. We made it to the second round, then we made it to the Western Conference Finals, then we made it to the NBA Finals. And so for all of us, it was just that it was a pinnacle. Coming in here to a stadium of 12,666, that was a pretty big size stadium back then. That's nothing now. The vibe in this arena and the way the city just embraced those teams was just one of those unbelievable experiences that will linger on with me forever.
I love that you know the exact number of fans this place sold. So now that we were here where you played most of your career, let's head over to the place where the Trailblazers play now. Moda Center, just conveniently located right across the street.
All right, let's do it.
The first game that was ever played here, you were actually a part of it, but on the other side.
So first preseason game was against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that would happen to be my new team. So there you go. I kind of helped build it, and then I got a chance to play in it the first game.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, your jersey. Retired.
Yeah, that was, as you can imagine, a very humbling experience and amazing experience altogether. It's one of those proud moments as a professional athlete where our organization recognizes what you've been able to contribute to their organization and the community over the years, and to have that done, I was teary-eyed that night. I had my whole family here and obviously a lot of old teammates here as well, and so it's definitely one of those special nights that you won't ever forget as an athlete.
Last stop on the tour. Are you getting hungry?
I am. I'm getting hungry.
All right.
Stomach's getting ready.
What tour of Portland would be complete without stopping at Voodoo Donuts? You're a donut guy, right?
I'm a donut guy. Yes, I am. So you gotta, this is an original spot in Portland when you talk about donuts. You gotta come by and sample all the many attractions when it comes to the donuts.
Absolutely. All right. You're getting hungry?
I'm getting hungry. I'm getting ready. Let's go.
Hi, Terry Porter.
Hey, how you doing? Good, man. Nice seeing you, man. I'd like a donut. What would you recommend?
I'd recommend our world famous Voodoo donut.
Awesome.
Coming around right here.
Oh, great.
Look for something a little like this.
Awesome.
And then we can go in the back and go make some special ones for you.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Wow, look at that. That is awesome. That is awesome. So I just got to squeeze it?
Whatever you're comfortable with. A little bit of a squeeze.
Terry, we've done it all. We've seen it all. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this tour with us.
Well, you appreciate it, and now you get to sample the goods.
Time to finish it off. All right.
Then we got to eat the autographed donut. All right, thanks for the tour, Coach. Terry Porter spent 10 of his 17 seasons in the NBA with the Blazers. He's the franchise leader in assists. Porter is also third all-time in Blazers history in three-pointers made. Well, we have reached the home stretch on WCC this week, presented by Geico. Up next, back to the Rose City, where the Pilots and Lions get set to meet for the 100th time on the hardwood. LMU won in their last trip to Portland. Can they enjoy another trip to the Northwest? Find out next. Hey, here's a look at the WCC schedule today. In addition to our game, St. Mary's looks to stay on top in the conference as they travel to San Diego. Gonzaga and BYU meet for the first time this year. The Cougars have won their last 3 trips to Spokane. Pepperdine plays host to Pacific, and the Dons travel south to face Santa Clara. And while you watch the action in the West Coast Conference today, join the conversation using the hashtag WCC Hoops. And for the latest news, scores, and more, follow WCC Hoops on Twitter. Well, that's going to do it from here. We are getting closer to tip-off, so let's get it back to the Chiles Center, where we reconnect with Tom Glasgow and Francis Williams.
All right, Angie, thanks so much. Well, Francis, when you look at our teams today, Portland and LMU, there is one common thread that takes you to the standings and where they are located near the bottom. And that's the youth of these two teams. There's not much you can do about being young.
No, there really isn't. I mean, both of these teams rely heavily on freshmen, and with Portland in particular, one is Marcus Shaver.
Marcus Shaver Jr., a very talented point guard, has moved into the starting lineup as of late out of Phoenix. Played for Mike Bibby down there, had great success with that program, and trying to find his way with another point guard. We'll talk about that in a moment, but look at Marcus in terms of doing it inside and outside.
Good speed, good quickness. He has good vision as well. Just trying to figure out what it takes to lead a team at this level and what it takes to win. But he's done a good job of accepting a role here lately of coming off the bench, and he's done a good job with that, been very consistent. He came up big in overtime the other night in their win against Pepperdine.
And then there's JoJo Walker, another true freshman point guard. Took a rather interesting route getting here. He is a native of Puerto Rico, made his way to Southern California, Carolina, Puerto Rico, in fact. So goes to another warm weather climate, and then decided, you know what, let's head to the great Northwest, and made his way to the Bluff St. Joseph High School down in Southern California before arriving here in the Rose City. So it's an adjustment for him as well. Both these point guards playing together, trying to get it figured out.
Yeah, they are. And you know, one thing about Walker, still has a lot of family in Puerto Rico, very concerned during the hurricanes that hit there, did a lot of things to raise some money. But this guy, again, good speed, good quickness, just like Shaver. And they started games together early in the year. Now the last 5, they're starting again. Nothing wrong with having competition within the program.
Yeah.
So as these guys, again, learn how to play together, learn what it takes to lead, what it takes to win, they could be a very dynamic backcourt for the future for the Portland Pilots.
The two guys we need to keep an eye on today for LMU, James Bateman and Eli Scott. Scott, a true freshman, 4 double-doubles already. James Bateman, the 3rd leading scorer in the conference, had 28 Thursday night in that upset of BYU.
Yeah, well, Bateman, Scott, 2 leading scorers on this squad. Scott is the leading freshman scorer in the league. He's a 6'5" forward man, played in that Chino Hills program with the Ball brothers, so he definitely knows how to accept and play his role. But I think he's going to give Portland problems today on the offensive glass, but I really like him.
In the first meeting won by Portland on the 20th of January. Early in that game, the Pilots did a lot of damage inside, both offensively and defensively. Likely one of the keys in this game today.
Yeah, for sure. Well, LMU Marketing didn't really play much in that game. He'll definitely play today. But I think one of the keys of the game, it will be the rebounding. LMU is a very good offensive rebounding team. Portland sometimes has a problem protecting the glass. So I think that's something to keep an eye on.
We got a couple 7-footers involved in this game as well. So when it comes to rebounding, defense, points in the paint, we'll get into that as the fans get into the Chiles Center. The West Coast Conference game of the week. LMU and Portland will have the starting lineups and the opening tip-off coming your way on this Saturday afternoon in the Rose City. Oh, that pizza looks really good.